Hello, everybody. So, one of my friends asked me today how I get scrolling backgrounds. Because in this game, also I'm gonna say I don't have to worry about copyright in this video because I made these songs. Yes. Also, this video is gonna be heavily unedited, as in I'm not editing this, because reasons. But yeah. In this game, there is a sequence like this. And the map is nice and large, so I decided I wanted to have a scrolling background for this. So in this scrolling background, my friend asked me, like, how I would get that to work. So that's what this video is gonna be. It's a pretty simple system. I'm just gonna explain it real quick. We are going to, move the player by, like, a certain, you know what, it's complicated. So first we're going to want to have our player sprite, which I'm just going to have the cat, and then our background sprite, which I'm just going to have as this little block. I don't know. It works, okay. I'm also gonna have this go to 0, 0 actually. I'm actually gonna have them both do that. 1 second. There we go. So now we have both of these go back to 0, 0 when the game starts. But now let's create two variables. We're just gonna rename this one. We're gonna call this one xpose. I'm gonna make a new one called ypose. So now we have these two variables right here, xpose and ypose. Now we want to probably get in some movement. So we are going to detect when I'm gonna do W because I prefer WASD and I don't want to do both of those right now because that will take a lot of time. W. Where's S? Where is S? Where? What the crap? What the freak? So I apologize for those noises I just made. There's S. Not that. You get to see the raw unedited footage of me before I edit it now. Because I don't want to edit this video. I just want to get something out. And also, this is a tutorial for my friend. Anyways, so right here we have just some blocks to detect what key we're doing, like what key we're pressing. This will also work in a forever loop full of if statements, detecting if a key is being pressed, or not that one, if a key is being pressed, but we're not doing that because, reasons. So what we're going to have is now we're going to make two blocks. Actually, no, we're not, because we're not doing collision, that's right. Okay. So what we want to have is if we press W, which will be up, so up for me, I am going to change the Y position by 5. And for S, it will be -5. So basically, we're doing this. We are changing this, except we're also not changing that. Now for A and D, I'm going to have it change the X value, so X position by 5 if, no, -5 if A is pressed, and then by normal 5 if D is pressed. So now let's look at the variables. Yeah. One second. I'm going to have a repeat until that key is not pressed, because that just works better. I'm also going to do it by 1 instead, because that's just better, I guess. I don't know. Sorry, I'm doing this on the spot right now. So now let's do if, or just we're gonna repeat while the W key is being pressed. Now the reason I'm doing this is because I want it to just continue to change the value as long as the key is being pressed. So I'm doing that. Can you blame me? So now, huh. Oh, repeat until it's not pressed. Sorry, I don't know why I said we're going to repeat until that key is pressed. We need to repeat until the key is not being pressed. It is moving incredibly fast. 1 second. I'm going to add a tiny bit of delay to these. So, by the way, if we do wait 0 seconds, it's just adds a tiny bit of delay. It makes the code think that we're going slower, but we're not really going slower. Also, I'm just going to set those two variables to 0 now. We're going to have it to where when the flag is pressed, it will set both those to 0. So now we have it changing our Y position and our X position. And we want to now put the go-to in a forever loop. But instead, we're going to have it go to the Y position and X position. So now, we have literally just programmed in movement. I'm going to speed this up because that is extremely slow. There we go. Yeah. It's never this weird, I feel like, with the movement. That might just be because we added these weights. But because we're not doing the full collision stuff, it's, oh, never mind, it works perfectly fine. That's odd, that's never the case, usually. Anyways, so now we want the background to move. We want to have another forever loop, and we want to have the background move instead of the player. So we're going to also have it go to the X and Y pose. But now I notice it's literally just going to the player. That's not what we want. You'll also notice that the direction of it would be inverted. If I press W, this should go down, since my player should be moving up away from it, but that's the opposite case. So to invert it again, we are just going to times it by -1. And do the same for the Y pose. There. But now we still have the issue of our cat also moving. So what we want to do instead is we are going to move to the X position, but minus the position of the background. So we're going to use the thing of thing block, which is a little complicated, but we're going to do minus the X position of background. X position minus the X position of background. Or actually, in this case, it would be plus the X position of background. My bad. That's... whoops. And then same thing for the Y position. Y position minus... plus the Y position of the background. So now, what this does is whenever we move, the background moves instead, but if we get to an area where the background can't move, then instead the cat moves, since these variables are still changing. So yeah. Now you can always change this to work however you want it to work. I personally like to scale up this stuff a lot, so that way I have a ton of area for my stuff. But in this case, I could just have, like, a couple of just boxes around. We're just going to do that. So now we have this wonderful scrolling background. Here, we're going to, we're going to remove this middle box. And we're going to create a new costume for this sprite. We're going to delete all of this, and we are going to zoom in a lot. Then we're going to make a really small cube with no outline, so it's extra small. It doesn't need to be centered, though it is better if it is. Ignore me spam clicking my mouse to zoom in. It for some reason decides to move in super slow the further in you get. But now we are going to switch to costume 2 when the game starts. Set size to 1000. And then switch back to costume 1. Now, the reason for this is because the background, because it's so much. Actually, let's do like 500. Actually, no, let's just do 200. Because the background is so big, Scratch won't let us enlarge it any more than it is. So we are instead going to have a really tiny cube, so Scratch thinks that we can enlarge it as much as we want. And then we're going to switch back to the normal costume, so it's as large as we just set it. So now, we have this extra large background area that we can just scroll through by walking. It's a pretty simple system. So yeah, that right there is a scrolling background system that you can use in any case. Yay! Backgrounds! They move now! But yeah, just a simple system I wanted to make because it's very cool, and yeah, also my friends wanted to know how to make it, so I made this.